So today I wanted to talk a little bit about interiority and leadership. So most of the time, at least when I used to think of a leader, I thought of someone who's outgoing and confident, which are definitely qualities of a leader. But one of the other qualities that I think is less talked about is interiority, or this quality that's developed based on reflection. And so my subtitle here is Closing the Doors for a Few Moments to Open Up a World of Possibility. So great leaders have to reflect. And in order to better understand themselves, this reflection and interiority is really a critical characteristic. So, over the past year, because of the coronavirus, we've had a lot of time to stay at home and basically isolate ourselves. But is this really all that interiority is? Is it just staying inside or keeping to ourselves? This isn't exactly encompassing interiority. While it does require some amount of silence and reflection, it's not a call to inaction, but a call to action. So, developing this reflection, we get to think about who we are and reflect on how we interact with others. So, one of the most prominent quotes that sticks out in my mind when I think about interiority is this quote by Mother Teresa. If you are humble, nothing will touch you, neither praise nor disgrace, because you know what you are. If you are blamed, you will not be discouraged. If they call you a saint, you will not put yourself on a pedestal. So I think there's two aspects here that really are critical takeaways for me. And the first part is if you are humble, nothing will touch you, neither praise nor disgrace. And that kind of ties into budding leaders. So when we're becoming a leader, because no one starts out as this famous entrepreneur or somebody who's really well known, there's going to be a lot of times when people are pursuing their goals and their dreams, and they're going to have a lot of detractors. But if someone really knows and has reflected on themselves and knows what they're doing is what they want to do and is for the good, then they're not going to be deterred by these negative comments. And then the second part is if they call you a saint, you will not put yourself on a pedestal. So maybe in a little bit less literal sense, this is referring to the sense of not being cocky as a leader, because cockiness turns a goal from being centered around a bigger picture to one that's centered around oneself. And that can create this kind of toxic environment where the goal turns away from its original intent towards a more closed off approach. And so this is something that's really stuck with me for many, many years. This is a quote that really resonates with me because I think it can really guide my approach to leadership. So tying this in even more to leadership, developing this strong interior life is the foundation for peace and allows us to carry out our daily tasks in the knowledge that all that we do is for a purpose. Interior people don't have to avoid social situations, nor do they have to be silent or closed off from the world. Instead, they carry themselves with confidence because they know who they are and they are aware of their purpose. Truly interior people also radiate humility because through reflection, they achieve a profound sense of self-awareness. Also, developing this strong interior life is the foundation that allows us to carry out our daily tasks in the knowledge that all we do is for a purpose. So in this reflection, we're able to better interact with others because we understand how we interact and we understand our strengths and our weaknesses. So if we take the time to think about how we interact with others instead of just going from one thing to the next, we can really better ourselves by seeing what areas that we might be lacking in. And that takes a really listening ear. And I think the first thing to develop that listening ear is to be open and reflect and listen and determine how we ourselves act. And in thinking about this, a quote from James Allen is that, "As a man thinketh, so also is he." And that really is a very important quote to me, because if we think about how we think and we change how we think, then we can also change how we act. Every good deed comes with a change from within. So, interiority and a quest for purpose. So we discussed about how interiority and developing that strong interior life is the foundation for peace that allows us to carry out our daily tasks, that we know what we're doing is for a purpose. Interior people are not avoiding social situations and are not closed off. So I wanted to present a scenario. Imagine going from one thing to the next, having everything meticulously planned and finishing every single task you set out to do. At the end of the day, you begin to plan out for the next day, take a few minutes to wind down, and then head to bed. While this may sound like the ideal scenario, imagine carrying out every day with a checklist, just ticking off the boxes and settling down at the end of the day just to prepare yourself for the same exact thing tomorrow. To be perfectly clear, I'm not lessening the value of discipline and routine, but I'm instead emphasizing the importance of reflection in our daily lives. Without reflection, we keep our figurative blinders on and power through our checklists, but we're really prone to burnout. Having the opportunity to reflect, to mull over the experiences of the day, week, month, or year, can help us put things into perspective as we continue on our journey of becoming. That is, our journey towards the person we hope to become. For me, this is a particularly important lesson that was constantly reinforced. So I'm really passionate about veterinary medicine. From the time I was very young, I tried to engage those experiences. And when I was in high school, I started shadowing a veterinarian. And I took the time to reflect on those experiences, asking myself, can I envision myself doing this for the rest of my life? And always reassessing to make sure that I'm on track with who I envision myself becoming. And so, one of the things that I've also learned is teamwork. When we reflect on ourselves, we realize where our weaknesses are, and we understand that sometimes we need to reach out to others. There's a lot of cases where we have to do that. And one of the quotes here kind of sums that up pretty succinctly, is that leadership is a team sport. Leaders need to know their strengths so they can best use them. At the same time, they need to humbly recognize their weaknesses so they can build and empower a team that fills those gaps. And tying this into our research project this semester, we have a team that is coming from a diverse area of backgrounds, or a diverse set of backgrounds, with all different skill sets. And as team leaders, we have to know our own strengths and weaknesses so that we can maximize our strengths and draw from the strengths of our team members to really create that cohesive whole and that cohesive team to work towards this end goal, which is our proposal. And so all of this together comes from a deep understanding of self that can only be fostered through reflection and interiority. So to talk a little bit about leadership experiences that I've had, I am a tutor on my school's campus. I'm the president of a club, and here at Berkeley Pharmatech, I serve as a research team leader. And all of these experiences, I have been on both the leading end and on the following end. So for tutoring, when I was in high school, there were certain courses that I needed to get tutored for. And in that sense, I learned the dynamic and what areas that I struggled with, so that now when I'm a tutor in my position at my college, I understand that there are certain things that I used to struggle with, and I can empathize with the people I'm working with so that they can feel like I truly understand and can connect with them. Similarly, as a club president, I've also been a member of a club. So I understand what it's like to want to be heard in a club and to have opportunities that engage my interests and passions. And then here at Berkeley Pharmatech, as I had mentioned before, making sure to really take advantage of everybody's strengths and weaknesses and bring those together to a cohesive whole. And so one really important lesson, I said a hard lesson, but I guess that depends on your own experience, is the difference between management versus leadership. Management is just organizing information in a clear, logical manner and delegating or engaging in tasks that have a set deadline. But this is missing something. In order to become a true leader, leaders express a clear vision that have practical impacts, and they inspire others to join them on their mission to foster their vision into reality. So that actually ties into our mission here at Berkeley Pharmatech, which is really bringing those ideas into a tangible change that can affect the lives of many. And so for all of us, we're engaging different aspects of the sciences and engaging a different problem or issue that really can have these long-term benefits and on human health, global health, and all different avenues. And then the last part is that these two things need to be combined together. So leadership, having a vision is good, but it also has practical implications. And that, of course, entails management. So combining these two is really important to show people not only that you have a vision, but that you have a plan for carrying it out. And whatever that plan is, we understand that it can vary from person to person because we're all unique. But as long as we have that communication, like Laszlo had said before, we can really convey those ideas to others and be flexible and understand and communicate with our audiences well. So that's all I had for today, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them now, or if you have any comments.
Well, thank you, Mary. That was a wonderful presentation. I don't have any questions at this time, but Teja, maybe you have a few.
I just had one question in general. So I really liked your presentation, by the way, and I love that you brought up something that I guess is kind of unseen. So in terms of the concept of interiority, I just want to know if there are any ways that you kind of work on that in your life, and maybe some, not necessarily just sitting down and like reflecting, but maybe some ways that you think you reflect that have helped you over time.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of ways to reflect, and that's not always setting aside a specific amount of time, because sometimes you're just in the moment. But I think that one of the things that comes to mind when you ask that is that people can bring out qualities in us that we realize we need to improve. And so I think even within an interaction, it can just be a moment where you're interacting with someone and then they might communicate something to you and you react to that in a specific way, and then you realize that maybe you need to improve on how you respond to those types of situations, or maybe that person brings something up that helps you put a situation into perspective and see it as part of a bigger picture. So even within interactions, there's an opportunity to reflect, and it could just be something, a brief realization that just is maybe life-changing, or just changes the way you look at something and changes your perspective. So it can be just those little experiences that are very formative and help you understand more about yourself. And I found that too. It's just interacting with others and taking those experiences and really engaging them and giving others a listening ear can really not only help me empathize with them, but also improve on my own weaknesses and improve my strengths as well, strengthen the skills that I already have.
Thank you.